Hi everybody, welcome to, Sunday's IndyCar today on the 11th of August. Actually, this is going to be a very short programme today for one reason, and that is A, I'm short on time, and B, there's only one thing really in everybody's minds today, and that is the fact that there is a general election brewing. Now, everybody is expecting it. Holidays for civil servants have been cancelled. And holidays for civil servants in local authorities have been cancelled, and that's probably more indicative that they're expecting a new general election to happen at any moment, with Boris Johnson apparently claiming that he's going to call or may call a general election within days after Brexit has occurred. Has appalled many people, not least of all the Labour Party, and of course Jeremy Corbyn is now in the unedifying position of having to beg with a senior civil servant to actually stop Boris Johnson from taking the country out of the European Union without a deal during the middle of a general election, might be even during the purdah period of a general election. Which would make it impossible for any party to then come up with anything new to add to the campaign. So the whole thing is a mess, and I think the fact that it's got to such a bad state that it's brought out again Gordon Brown from his crypt, and he's now stalking the streets telling anybody who will listen that Britain is now sleepwalking into oblivion, I think is the phrase he used. And of course it's been sleepwalking into oblivion for 3 years, and it's taken Brown until now to wake up and actually start to criticise the people who are really responsible for that. He's still going on about populist nationalism, except the populist nationalism that he should be focusing on is the populist British or English nationalism represented by Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers. It is they who are the populists, they who are the nationalists. It is they who are splitting up the United Kingdom. It's not the SNP, it's not Plaid Cymru, and it's not Sinn Féin. Although all three of those parties, those political parties, are now ramping up the pressure to split away from nationalist England, as it now is, because that's what Boris Johnson is turning it into. And if Boris says, and his supporters seem to back this up, that losing the United Kingdom is a price worth paying for Brexit, then that's exactly what will happen, because the people of Northern Ireland, the people of Scotland and the people of Wales didn't sign up to a no-deal Brexit, and they certainly didn't sign up to the fire sale that will happen when we try, or when Boris tries to get a deal with the United States. The United States is loving this because Steve Bannon wanted Britain humbled and humiliated and out of the EU so that it can become an outpost of the United States. But people of the United Kingdom are not going to become American citizens. They won't have any rights. They won't be able to vote. But virtually all of the remaining national treasures of the UK will be sold to America, because they have nothing left to offer anyone in a trade deal other than the National Health Service, maybe some parts of the education sector, maybe some parts of the farming and manufacturing sector which are still under UK guidance or control, and perhaps the last shares that the UK has in RBS. All of these things will be up for negotiation with the United States after Brexit. And I don't think anyone in Scotland, which has probably the most is probably the most replete with natural resources and exports and all the rest of that, America's not interested in exports either. I mean, the UK isn't. The UK wants to deal in banking, it wants to deal in money laundering, and America would like to have Britain's 13 island tax havens under its wing, so that the Americans can hide their ill-gotten gains as well. The Americans don't care whether Scotland's manufacturing continues. The UK, in the guise of Boris Johnson and his English nationalists, they don't care whether Scotland has manufacturing or not. In fact, it's of no relevance to them whatever. All that's relevant to them is how to hide money and how to launder money, because that is what the moneyed classes are doing. And that is what Brexit and what Trump it's all about. It's about destabilising everything that exists at the moment and having a massive fire sale of the UK's national assets after Brexit has happened. So America can use the United Kingdom as a jumping off point into Europe, and also as a way of having an American presence close to Europe. Because once you start buying the UK's national health service, then America can start then selling those services to people from Europe, and they will do that. There are all kinds of things that could and will happen after Brexit. None of them favour Scotland. In fact, every single one of them would push Scotland back into poverty again. But we'll still be a handy place for America to store its nuclear missile system. And it'll be a handy place for the British or the English government, whatever you want to call it, after Brexit, to keep their nuclear bombs there as well, on top of those American missiles. Remember that everything that Britain does militarily is at the behest of the Americans now, including the seizure of the tanker off Gibraltar, which the European Union viewed with alarm because the United Kingdom didn't seize that tanker simply for its own ends. It seized that tanker because they claimed that it was running the European sanctions. It was a sanction busting. But the Europeans don't enforce their sanctions by piracy on the high seas, by capturing ships of other nations. That's the role of the UK. The UK is there on America's behalf to enforce a blockade on Iran, which America is trying to strangle at the moment. And things like our aircraft carriers have American weapons in them. They have American planes with British engines and American software and American missiles. There's American stamped all over a lot of things militarily at the moment that the UK is doing. And the UK currently has a new intelligence base just been finished building in Oman. It has a major operations centre there which is tapping into the communications beneath the Gulf of Oman and the Straits of Hormuz, so that they can monitor everything that's happening and relay it back to the United States. Britain is tied to the United States in so many ways that the whole of Brexit is largely designed for America's benefit, not for ours, not for Britain's, not for England's even. But the mythology that's being sold to the British, or the English, I should say, voters, which says, come out of Europe and gain your freedom, and get back all the powers that you've had. All the chickens are coming home to roost now. Now they're realising that had we been Brexited back in March, the United Kingdom would now have run out of food. That's true. It would have run out of food by this date because we don't make and grow enough of our own food. And now the British government is saying, oh, well, we must ramp up, farm output and farm produce. Now they're beginning to wake up and realise that they've got to change the entire shape of the United Kingdom's internal systems so that it's no longer interlinked or interdependent with anybody else's. And that makes Britain completely isolated in terms of trade with virtually everyone except America. And it's America which will be our major trading partner, because there isn't anybody else left who wants to do business with us. And not only that, but America wants to do business with the UK, not for Britain's benefit, but for its own benefit. So Scotland needs to get out, and get out fast. Broon is right. For once in his life, he is right. And that is that the United Kingdom is on the brink of splitting up, but it's not the nationalists in the north, or the nationalists in Ireland, or the nationalists in Wales who are causing this split up. It's the nationalists in London who are causing it. And if Brown would just turn his rage on them for once, maybe people in Scotland might listen to him. But he's not. He's not saying that at all. He's still trying to cast the blame on the SNP, despite the fact that this has nothing to do with the SNP and everything to do with English nationalism and English exceptionalism. And the English people are being conned left, right and centre by Boris Johnson, by Dominic Raab, by Donald Trump and by Steve Bannon and all kinds of other people in between who have engineered this breakaway from the European Union so that the United States can pretty much take over whatever is left of the United Kingdom's crown jewels, because 40% of the UK's assets have already been sold by the Tory party. So the remaining 60% are going to be auctioned off to America. And we will have to lower all our standards and accept poor quality food, poor quality goods, dangerous goods, things which wouldn't pass our safety standards are going to flood into the country because Boris Johnson doesn't care. He doesn't care about business. He said so. He's famous for saying "feck business" and said it out loud. He doesn't give a toss one way or the other about what happens to the UK's export industries. He wants no industries left in the UK. He wants only banking and money. It's all he's interested in, and it's all anybody is interested in the Tory party at the moment, is lining their own pockets and protecting their own wealth in these tax havens, which America is so covetous of that they really want to take over the UK so that they can take advantage of the massive money laundering scam that the UK operates through its 13 protected tax haven islands. And that's really the bottom line. Everybody said for ages that this is all about money, it's all about the UK finding a way to keep its tax havens open and America helping them to do it by bankrolling Brexit. And this is precisely what is now about to happen. Brown, for once in his entire life, is absolutely spot on. We are sleepwalking into a no-deal Brexit and into the breakup of the United Kingdom. The breakup of the United Kingdom, incidentally, will not be a bad thing, not for Scotland and not for Ireland and not for Wales. It will only be a bad thing for England, because England is the one which will suffer from having this massive cuckoo in the nest, this American presence taking over everything of any value that's left in England. That is what Brexit is about. I'll see you later. Bye bye.